So you've probably seen this car sideways on TikTok, and now I'm going to show you how to do it. So I'm going to teach you how to do a Scandinavian flick. This was a tutorial used back in the late 80s and early 90s to get the car to rotate in rallying. It had been for cars who weren't very technically advanced, so it allowed them to turn corners faster than just driving around them normally. Did I get him?
Yes.
Yeah. So this was a technique used in the 70s and sort of 80s and well into the 90s as well. Especially rear-wheel drive, Mark II Escorts, Fiat 131 Abarths. Mark II Escorts, Fiat 131 Abarths, that kind of car, because they weren't very technically advanced suspension-wise, so they needed something to help the car rotate, so they'd use a Scandinavian flick to turn the car. This was also apparent when we went into four-wheel drive cars like the Audi Quattro, in the Group 4 form as the A1, and then into the Group B period, because the four-wheel drive systems weren't very advanced, so the cars would understeer heavily, so they needed something to transfer the weight around to allow them to corner better, to beat competition like the Peugeot 205 T16, the Lancia Delta S4. And even into the 90s, it was because the cars were so analog, like the Imprezas, you have Evos, that's when you start to get a bit more advanced, but Lancia Delta Integrales, you'd have not that much tech on them, and the diffs were locked on the rear and stuff like that, so they needed something to help the cars rotate, so they'd use that.
It's the sting.
It's the sting. So the way you do a Scandinavian flick is by transferring the weight of the car onto all different corners to upset the balance of it, so you get the car to slide and rotate. So what you do is you're coming up to a right-hand corner, or we'll do a left-hand corner. So you'll then flick towards the left to upset the weight, so the weight of the car goes to the right. You then flick it over to the right again, which then upsets the car, and it'll go all the way to the right, and the weight goes on the left. And then as you want to go to the left-hander, you turn into the corner normally, and it'll again upset the balance of the car, and it'll shift all the way to the right, and it'll unload it, and then you should get sideways and allow the car to rotate much more efficiently than you just turning around the corner like that. It's more of a technique you'd do in low grip conditions like we have gravel or you have on snow. It's not something you do so much on tarmac, but if you've got sort of maybe the car isn't handling the way you want it to do and you have to get it to rotate around hairpins and tight corners, then you might do it on tarmac as well.